Good morning. Sorry about the brief delay. We were having some technical issues here. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Ullman, and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx who can be seen and heard are Lisa Valentini, Joanne Hayes, and Larry Clay. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 4553 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provision of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, known as LPAT. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion, and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have the minutes of the last Committee of Adjustment public hearing been confirmed by the members?
Yes, Madam Chair, and just to confirm, there were 2 hearings on April 28th, both the AM and PM sessions. They were both confirmed.
Okay, can we move a motion to adopt the minutes for both at the same time then? Like, is that okay?
We're just sure.
Okay, so panel members, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes for both of those hearings then?
Move the motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, moved by Ms. Valentini and seconded by Ms. Hayes. Okay, minutes have been adopted. All right. And Are there any interests to declare from members or staff? Seeing none. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any request to close or withdraw any files?
Not in this time session.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now proceed with our hearing, and the first item is item number 1, 420 Oakwood Avenue. Panel members, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, previous committee decision affecting the subject property, email correspondence from community planning, and they have no comments, as well as right-of-way management, transportation services. They also are okay with this application. We have support from 4 homes on Oakwood Avenue, 428, 422, 424, and 410. We have 10 form letters in support from residents on Oakwood and Hanson and Rockville Avenue. We have opposition from number 1 Hanson, and the other information that we have, that there was an order to comply issued by Toronto Building Division with respect to this property, which is why the purpose is because the to legalize and maintain the rear second-story deck of a 3-story mixed-use building, and the rear story deck built partially above a rear surface parking space was constructed without a building permit. And I'm showing 2 speakers, is that correct? Okay. So can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Very good morning, Madam Chair, members of Committee of Adjustment. This is Victor Rosa representing the owner of the property at 420 Oakwood Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Rosa, we have 2 speakers, so if I can ask you to give us a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, please.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, the clock's going to start.
Before you,
Yeah, go ahead.
very good. Before you have an application to maintain an as-built deck at the rear of this property. It's a 3-story commercial use, 1st floor office, 2nd floor residential. The deck was built at the rear, and the proposal before you represents a reduction to the deck size in conformance with discussions with planning in an initial state of this presentation. The deck was curtailed to the 2nd post support, and the stairs reconfigured to reduce the extent of area of the deck and the stairs as they lead from the 2nd floor. The deck has been, in terms of design, it's been modified to incorporate screening along the north and south alignments or perimeters of the deck to avoid an overlook circumstance. So that's the presentation. We do have letters of support, as you've confirmed, and I could also confirm there are letters of opposition against this deck. This deck is there to form a part of some amenity outdoor space from the residential component of the building to the rear of the property. At grade, you have maintaining a parking space which is slightly undersized, but we attempt to maintain the parking space given that this is Oakwood is a primary and quite busy street, and parking is difficult. So that's the nature of the application before the committee.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions of Mr. Rosa before we go to the opposition? Okay. And based on what I read, and I'm sure all of you, the main concern was overlook and negative impact to the neighborhood was. All right, who do we have on the line here?
Jeremy
Okay.
Bartcheveka.
Hi, Jeremy, are you there?
Yes, hi everyone. Hi, Miss,
Hi.
Miss
Can you,
Chair.
yeah, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, I am Jeremy Barchat, living on owner and living on 3 Onsen Road.
Okay, we're gonna start the clock now, so you have 5 minutes.
So I'm living, I just moved in this place back in September, and we have now been aware of the case of this terrace being built out of a permit. As a good neighbor, I just have concern about the privacy because this terrace is directly overlooking at my property and the only small backyard that I have. For me, it is important that we keep privacy. I'm not opposed for them to build a terrace on the first grade, but it's just a matter of privacy for us and making sure that we can keep like good neighborhood relationships. We are not concerned currently by what's happening there, but in the future we don't know what could happen if new neighbors can come in and just party, and you don't know, it's directly overlooking my small backyard, as I said. So for that case, we just want to make sure that we get to an agreement where we both are comfortable with that. One thing I want to mention, looking at the picture that was sent, I don't see the screening on the north or south side currently. I just looked again from my window and they're not there. And I wish that we could find something that is good also for the west elevation, because the west elevation is directly in front of our house.
Okay, thank you. We will have the applicant come back and address those concerns about the screening. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Seeing none? Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy. Mr. Kloos, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, can you please identify yourself for the record?
My name is Stephen Kluss. I am the resident and owner at 1 Hanson Road. My backyard directly borders this property on the west side.
Okay, we're going to start the clock now because it sounds like you've started to express your concerns. Okay, so you have 5 minutes. It's okay. You have 5 minutes, so the clock's starting now.
Okay, well, I hope I can be brief. Just in a nutshell, and as probably already outlined in my letter, in May 2019, I witnessed an illegal structure being built, asked them about permits. They continued to build this property until it was finished. It was on a holiday weekend, Victoria Day weekend at that time, so there was no city officials employed on that weekend, so there was no recourse to actually stop it before it got built. So clearly it was built knowingly or intentionally to avoid building codes and the permit process. So I know that these processes take time, but I've been living with kind of violation of privacy and so forth for the past 2 years now. As Jeremy has stated, there's concern of privacy. It can affect the value of your lifelong investment and so forth. But in a nutshell, I know that there's about a half a dozen variances that they're requesting based on the drawings that now show a reduction in what exists there right now. Now, probably my main concern would be the proximity of the access stairway to this elevation, which seems to me unusual that it has to originate right next to the border of my property line, perpendicular to the structure. Typically, these types of elevations would have a stairway access beneath them, similar to a fire escape, or maybe parallel to them, as opposed to perpendicular. There is a variance request to exceed the deck the distance from the building, I think they want an extra half a meter or 0.45. I think just in a nutshell, I think that, you know, if the bylaws and the codes were established to protect the residents of the neighborhood, I know that there's letters of support. I would say more than half of them were submitted after the deadline, and clearly more than half of them do not even have a sight line or border on this property. You know, that was, I think, more or less just a maneuver to sort of, maybe those people don't realize that the drawings show that it's being reduced. So aside from, you know, the distance from my property line of the stairway, and, you know, there's also green space concerns that they want to have much less than 25%. I don't know if that might be more of a committee of adjustment agenda for green space and environmental issues. But when will this be taken down, the existing structure? I mean, can this be done within the next 2 weeks, 30 days, so I don't have to sustain another?
I mean, they're before committee to legalize the structure. So when an order is, when the city goes out, the inspectors, the owners are actually given the opportunity to legalize the structure. That's what this application is for.
Well, but legalizing the structure based on the reduction drawings in the file today, though.
Well, I think we're gonna have to have the, when the applicant comes back, he's going to have to speak to your concern where you're saying the plans are different from what's actually there, as well as the screening, the stairs, and the landscaping. I believe that's all the concerns, so we'll have to ask him to speak to that.
But it is gonna be reduced.
Well, the variances, what the variances he's asking for is what's before us. So
yes.
if those variances are approved, then the building inspectors would have to go out and verify it's been built according to the variances that were approved.
Is there like sort of a time factor?
No, I can't give you a time factor at all, especially with COVID. I'm not sure how many boots are out on the ground, so I can't say.
I see. Well, that's my main concern. I mean, myself, I clearly boarded the property. I mean, I've been living in the neighborhood for more than a couple of decades. So I'm just trying to sort of stress that, you know, the bylaws and the codes are there for a reason, and ideally we can uphold them. Minor variances obviously are always passed through the process, but you know, it's my main concern that, you know, it's been 2 years. Maybe we can get something accelerated on this.
Well, I mean, minor variances are not always approved, but let's see what the applicant has with respect to your concerns and your neighbor's concerns. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosa, so can you speak to the green space, the stairs, the fact that the structure that's there is bigger than what you're coming in for, and overlook, etc.?
Yes, Madam Chair, the structure that is presently there has on plan and part of this application been reduced to reflect a modification that has to occur on site in order to conform to the application before committee at the moment, which relates to the minor variances that we're presenting for this deck reduction. The deck reduction then entails a much reduced amount of area that is more in line with an acceptable percentage for lot coverage. The plans, I'm quite aware that the present deck does not have screening, the 5-foot screening that we're proposing to the north and south side, but this is, the intent is to have that as part of the permit application drawings to reflect the screening for privacy to the north and south. The offset distance from the deck to the rear property line is about 13 feet, which gives a substantial buffer for any sight lines to the rear of the property. In terms of the stairs orientation, presently the stairs go along the north lot line to a lower landing, so the access at grade is adjacent to the west property line. But at that grade, there's really no oversight to the adjacent neighbor. The access then goes directly at the north side up the deck. Certainly we can introduce some screening on the railing of the north railing of that of the stairs as well if necessary. In terms of landscaping, Madam Chair, the present landscaping is 0. The rear of the property is gravelled, paved, gravelled. So we are improving on the accessibility to obtain a higher landscaping factor of this for this property at the rear. That's in terms of the concerns. I think this reduction represents a more considerate plan to something that's acceptable for the rear of this property and less imposing on the neighbors.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions of Mr. Rosa? Ms. Valentini?
Thank you. Mr. Rosa, so just to clarify, apart from the variances that you're seeking, I mean, a deck would be permitted. Is that correct, in any event?
A deck would be permitted, yes.
At the second level,
At the
except
second
for,
level,
sorry,
Yes,
except for the variances that you're requesting, you would be able to have a deck in any event, correct?
except for variances related to the position of the deck from the rear of the building and offset distances or setback distances from the north property line.
Correct. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none, let's take it into committee for a decision.
Well, maybe, Chair, I'll start. I think I share my colleague's view that when we see these kinds of things where a structure or a deck has been built illegally, we always have an initial concern that shouldn't happen at all. We shouldn't in any way be condoning that. But in this instance, it sounds like the applicant is adjusting the deck to more closely conform with what the bylaw allows, and I'm looking at the variances, and they don't appear to be significant given the change. You know, as Lisa says, that there is permissions to build a deck in this instance. So I think I'm prepared to support it. I would suggest, depending on what my colleagues think, that maybe what we could do would be to tie the approval to the plans as submitted, so to ensure that that deck is reduced in size and the concerns that the neighbors have raised are addressed in terms of screening.
Mr. Clay, would you be okay to add in a condition that they do put some screening on the north railing, even on that little piece? Yeah. It would just mitigate for both of the neighbors the overlook.
Yeah, I think, Chair, that's a great suggestion, and it sounds like the screening goes on all sides plus on the railing. I think that would satisfy the overlook concerns.
Okay, so that's the motion to approve, including a condition for this similar screening on the north railing.
I just have one for a discussion point of clarification. One of the concerns is with respect to screening on the west side, and even though the size of the deck being proposed with the variances is less, I think the objector was to the west was saying that even with that 13 feet, there's still, given the second floor orientation of the deck, the overlook is on the west as well. Any consideration to requiring screening on that side as well?
I think it's on both sides already, on the west and east, on the plans, which is what Mr.
I thought it was only on the north and south,
Is it the north?
but I stand to be
Okay,
corrected, but
can
I
we,
thought it was only on the north and south.
Mr. Rosa, can you just clarify for us? I think what we're looking for is screening on both sides and on the railing, that little piece where you go down the stairs.
Actually, I'm thinking the top of the deck, like the floor area of the deck on the west side.
Okay, and I was thinking with the additional motion, there's a little piece of railing sort of where you are going down the stairs, that if something were put there, it would kind of help both of those properties. Is, Mr. Rosa, are you there?
I am here.
So, do you know what I mean? When you're looking at the stairs, there's a little piece of railing as you kind of step down 1 or 2 steps to a landing. I thought if you could put a little piece there, it would kind of, I think, solve the entire overlook problem.
At the bottom of the stairs?
Well, if, I don't know, we're looking at, there was one, actually, maybe the picture, yeah. You see that little one step down? That little
Well,
landing? I thought if you could do just that corner also with screening, then basically there's no overlook really at all to those properties. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that extension of the screening,
Yeah,
there is no landing at the deck as shown on the picture that's the existing condition.
oh, so that
The
piece,
proposed condition commences coming down the stairs right from the deck, and the landing is only 3 risers from grade at the bottom.
oh,
of
I
the
see,
rear of the-
okay. Well, then that doesn't work. I thought that you still had a step down there, so I thought if you could do the corner, it would sort of alleviate all of the overlook issues. Okay,
And, if I just might add, I guess you're in hearing right
yeah, we're
now,
out of
but-
committee actually right now because we're talking to you, but we're just trying to maximize in terms of screening, like the best option for the neighbors.
I understand.
Okay.
Chair, maybe what we can do is stipulate that the screening, to Joanne's point, the screening should be on the north, or the north, south, and west sides of the raised deck. Would that, Joanne, satisfy?
Yeah, I think it has to be on the 3 sides, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll just
Because
amend my
of the
motion to
closeness
that
of the
effect.
lot line, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back into committee and then the height, do we want to keep it the same as on the plans here all around, or?
That says a 5-foot screen, right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Which I think is fine to.
Okay,
So I'll just sort of restate the motion that we would approve this application and tie the approval to the plans and add the condition that screening, 5-foot high screening, be included on each of the 3 sides, the west, the north, and the south.
okay. Do we have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? All right, so that motion is moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? All right, the application's been unanimously approved with that condition. All right, item number 2, 627 Manning Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, presentation material submitted by Mr. Mijokovic, the agent, email correspondence from transportation, and they don't have any concerns. 5 form letters in support from residents on Manning Avenue. including both adjacent neighbors, and we have opposition from 630 Manning. And I am showing them speaking. Do we have them on the line?
Through you, I gave them a call, but there is no answer.
Okay, so we'll go ahead with it if you want to try them maybe again in the meantime. Is the agent on the line? Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Good morning. My name is Sava Milkovic, the agent and designer.
Okay, panel members, in the meantime, I'll just see if you have any questions while staff are trying to reach the opposition. And also just based on what I read, the people that had wanted to speak, their concerns are related to floor space index, roof height, softscape in the front, and parking. So just bear with us, everyone. We're just giving it one more shot to contact the opposition. Mr. Milkovic, just while we're waiting, I guess, to fill some time, what's the existing floor space index?
Yeah, so the existing and proposed floor space index have a difference of 1%. So
Okay.
it's basically unchanged. We're on the third story. We're adding 30 square feet, which is nominal, and on the ground floor, we're actually removing 15 square feet. So the differential is literally 15 square feet. So the FSI is unchanged, other than that 15 square feet.
Okay, thanks.
I did submit a diagram. I don't know if you guys want to.
Well,
screen share that.
I don't know if my colleagues, they didn't have any questions. I'm not sure if you want, but we've tried the opposition. We're unable to reach them. So if there's something else you want to show us, that's fine. But I think we're ready to go into committee. Did you want to show us something else, Mr. Milkovic?
Well, I mean, I have a presentation here, but it's really dependent on how much I need to.
Well, we don't need a presentation, and
Okay, well, then
there
I'll
there
leave-
aren't any questions. So unless there's something you want to draw our attention to, and we can't reach the opposition, so we're actually ready to go.
I guess the main thing I like to highlight here is just that it is an existing condition, and the homeowners are looking to basically legalize that existing condition, and in
Okay.
the process, kind of revitalize the home. And essentially, when doing the replacement of the awning, the front stairs, the basement walkout, we basically just re-triggered existing non-conforming conditions. So all the variances are essentially technical. And the only change to the building massing is that addition at the back, which is very modest, and it's largely just creating more headroom for the roof above the existing roof and adding 30 square feet. So largely unchanged. It hasn't been an issue to date, and considering its location in Toronto near Bathurst and Bloor, it's a very common condition. So I think it's appropriate, and all the variances are minor in nature.
Okay. One of my colleagues, Lisa Valentini, has a question for you.
Just one quick follow-up question, just to confirm my understanding then. So the front yard softscape at 0 is the current condition, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, we are keeping the City Boulevard greenscaping,
Yes.
which will be a benefit to the neighborhood. But as you can see on the site plan, the lot itself technically doesn't even have a front yard. It's a small area.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to confirm since you spoke to that issue, but thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so I think we're ready to go into committee. Any discussion and a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to bring a motion on this one. I think this is a very minor application. As we've heard, a lot of the variances requested are existing conditions, variances relating to the front yard softscape and the walkout, and you know, those variances I don't think are an issue, since most of them are currently existing for some of those variances. In terms of the pop out of the third floor, I don't see that to be a big issue. I think the incremental increase in FSI is negligible compared to what we normally see at 1%. So my motion would be for approval, Madam Chair, of the application without any conditions.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 3 is 80 Danforth Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Susan Spiegel, the agent, a site-specific bylaw, actually 2 of them, and we have email correspondence from traffic planning, and they don't appear to have any concerns. We have a report from the development coordinator of the property planning development from the TTC, and I'm showing 1 speaker in opposition, and we do have them on the line. So can I please ask the agent to identify himself for the record, please?
Hi, this is Rob Hewitt. I'm with Susan Spiegel Architect. We're the agent for TCHC.
Okay, we do have opposition. If I can ask you no more than 5 minutes, and then the clock starts now.
Okay, we are requesting to remove one of the tenant parking spaces at the rear of the building to create 1 accessible parking space and to make room for a wheel-trans drop-off area. This is a seniors building. We currently have 14 parking spots, so removing 1 to get a barrier-free and a wheel-trans drop-off area seems like a good idea. This project is part of a larger accessibility project that TCHC is currently underway. There's an interior portion as well, and the whole project, the interior and the exterior, was done in consultation with the tenants. We had a tenant meeting last October, or the previous October, and this was made known to the tenants without any opposition at that time. So that's pretty much about it. We seem like we would argue that the 1 spot is a worthwhile to get the barrier-free spot.
Okay, thank you very much. And the opposition's concern, I believe, is mainly surrounding traffic. So, Ms. Areza, are you on the phone? Okay, do you want to give her a shot? Okay, I'm sorry, we lost the opposition. We're going to have to try calling. So please bear with us for a second.
To leave a callback number, press 5.
All right. Okay, we're unable to reach the opposition. Panel members, do you have any questions of the agent? Okay, seeing none. Let's take it into committee.
Madam Chair, I'll start with this one. I think that the proposal's goal is to continue to improve the conditions of the building and space to meet emerging accessibility standards. I think the impact is minor. I certainly appreciate the written comments of the individual at 41 Cambridge, but I think on balance, it is an improvement. It'll allow for the applicant to meet the accessibility standards, and I think the impact is minimal, if any, and I would move to approve the application.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, your application has been approved unanimously, sir. Okay, the next item, item number 4, 19 Markham Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Smith, the agent. We have email correspondence from transportation, and they don't have any concerns. We have one form letter in support from 123 Wolseley Street. And is the agent on the line?
I am Madam Chair, Jay Smith, and I'm the agent for
I can barely hear you.
I am Madam Chair, it's Jay Smith, I'm the agent for 19 Markham Street.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Smith? No? Okay, Mr. Smith, panel doesn't have any questions. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything that you feel you need to add? We've read all the materials, I believe.
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee.
Chair, maybe I'll start. This looks like it's a very straightforward application to accommodate additional secondary suites in a neighborhood that is adjacent to Queen Street, a very major thoroughfare. I think it's the kind of area and neighborhood that we want to encourage additional rental accommodation. I think the variances that are proposed are quite minor, and I would propose that we approve this application. I don't believe there are any conditions.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Clay. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously approved. Item number 5, 3 Claxton Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Sydney Paul, the agent. We have email correspondence from transportation, and planning, and transportation has no concerns, and planning is asking for a condition. Let me just get it here. They're asking for 2 conditions: that the owner at their own expense constructs a new laundry room containing at least 3 washing machines, 3 drying machines, in accordance with the basement floor plans, and also prior to issuance of first building permit for the interior alterations to the existing residential building, the owner will develop a construction mitigation and tenant communication plan to mitigate the impacts of construction on existing tenants. I am not showing any opposition, so can I have the agent identify himself for the record, please?
Yes, this is Sydney Paul, Point Architects, the agent for the project.
Panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have any questions? Okay, Mr. Paul, we don't need a presentation. We've read all the material. Is there anything that, there are no questions? Is there anything that?
I have a question,
Oh,
Madam
you
Chair.
do?
Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
okay, go
sorry.
ahead.
I just wanted to confirm if the applicant has any issues with the proposed condition being requested by planning in terms of the relocating the laundry and sorry, the other condition just escaped my mind.
The tenant construction plan.
Yes, thank you. Is there an issue with that, sir?
There's no issue at all. We were always intending to upgrade the laundry while we were doing these renovations to the building. And yes, we always intended also to provide the tenants with the information about what's going on with the project, so we have no issue with that whatsoever.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, is there anything else you feel you need to add, Mr. Paul? We're ready to go into committee.
Not at this time, thanks.
Thank you. All right, panel members, any comments or motion or both?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to bring a motion on this one. I think if the addition of the extra units in this case is, in my view, a minor addition. The parking situation is currently as is. And I think the fact that they've agreed to relocate the laundry and comply with the conditions that planning is suggesting is a good thing. So the motion is for approval, and it'll be subject to the 2 conditions set out in the planning department memo that we just discussed.
Okay, do I have a seconder for the motion? Okay, Ms. Hayes. All right, I have a motion to approve the application, including the conditions in the May 12th planning report, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 6, 332 Howland Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. An arborist report that was prepared by Tom Bradley. We have a neighborhood rear yard setback diagram. We have email correspondence from community planning, transportation. I believe they're both don't have any concerns, and forestry is asking for condition number 2. And I believe that's it. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Through you, I haven't been able to connect with the agent, but the 2 registered speakers are on the line.
Okay. All right, folks, we don't have the agent on the line, but we do have opposition speakers on the line, 2 of them. So we're going to try the agent. Sorry, just bear with us again.
Hi there. So we have a caller on the line with the phone number 905474. Those are the first 6 digits. We've just unmuted you. Do you mind identifying yourself? It's 905474. Did you try giving her a call?
Yeah, try.
Let's try calling. Hi, Marie Black, are you there? Can you try speaking into your microphone? It's Marie Black. Yeah, try.
Hello?
Yes,
Who is this? Can you please identify yourself?
it's Mr. Young, so 187 Hunt Crescent.
That's okay, thank you.
It's okay, sorry, we're looking for somebody else. Is there any way I can stand this item down? We can move on and, yeah, because, okay, I'm sorry to the opposition, but we need to get the agent on the line, so I'm going to stand item 6 down just while the staff can try to get a hold of her and go to item 7. All right, item 7 is 1303 DuPont Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Judy Sans Soleil, the agent, as well as other correspondence. We have email correspondence from community planning and transportation. Planning didn't have any concerns, and the transportation issue, I believe, has been addressed. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. And we have support from 1307. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good morning. I am Judy Sunsolen. I'm the agent and architect.
Okay, we don't have any opposition listed. Panel members, do you need a presentation or do you have any questions on this item?
Chair, just a quick question. I just want maybe the agent can help clarify the ancillary building. It is described as being a studio, a storage area, and also sort of like a bedroom or a residence for folks. Is it habitable space? And it looked like there had a washroom in the drawings as well. So.
Good morning. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, the ancillary building is not to be a habitable area. It is intended as ancillary to the ground floor apartment. It is basically an extended space, like a little studio. The ground floor apartment does not have a secondary bedroom. So the intent is here, the owner, the main tenant of the ground floor would have a space for hobbies and such, but it does also serve as a potential guest room when family members from out of town visit. So there is a small bathroom there. It is not intended, there's no kitchen. It's not big enough for a kitchen. It is ancillary to the ground floor unit. That is the intent of it. And it meets the requirements of ancillary in that it doesn't have both kitchen and bathroom. Does that make sense? And the storage is it's just when you look in the section, I think it catches it, of the overall site section, there it is. There ends up being a little bit of space under, which as far as from the garage area, we would probably put cold storage stuff below there. It is not, it's not, formal storage. It's an extension of a garage storage space.
Yeah, that's helpful. We might, depending on what my colleagues say, we might actually put a condition in if we choose to approve it, that it doesn't become habitable space. That maybe, would you be okay with that?
100%, yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Seeing none? Okay, is there anything else you feel?
I have a question, Chair.
Okay.
About the rear yard landscaping, is that representative of others in the area, or is there a way to improve that? Because there's very little soft landscaping.
Correct. So interestingly, we are already improving what is on our site. If you look at the site plan, I think it sort of reveals it the best. Sorry, not the site plan, the survey. The survey shows the existing conditions. Right now, the garage is sort of halfway up. There's a deck. There's tons of paving. There's a 3-foot by 20-foot strip of soil, basically, where there's small plants right beside the garage. So as part of our scheme, I moved the garage as far down to the lane as possible. We do have a deck because the first grades are always just kind of high, so the deck I'm proposing is sort of just to get you out, stand there, and get down, and then we filled the rest with what we could with green space. I believe I am doubling the existing landscape space of what is there. And if you can look at the house just to the left on the survey, you can see the garage is in the middle. There's a balcony. It is quite typical in this area to not have a ton of landscape, because they're soft landscaping because of the garages and the very, very, very narrow lots. But like I said, we have improved. I believe we went from, just check my note quickly. Yeah, right now there's about 9% landscaping, and we've improved it to 17. But it is almost impossible to get what is requested once you know. And yes, it's in line as far as.
Okay, are there any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none. All right, we're ready to go into committee, and
I had one further
another?
question, Madam Chair. Sorry, it keeps going back and forth on my muting. Side yard setback, is that necessary to allow you to still park beside the ancillary structure? Is that the reason for that setback at 0?
Sorry, to do what beside the ancillary?
Why is there a side yard setback of 0 on the west lot line? Is it to allow?
It is to maximize. I explained a little bit in the covering letter, but if this was if it's a full parking spot, you are permitted to extend from lot line to lot line. An ancillary building does require a 1-foot setback. It is, in these laneways, houses, in these laneway conditions where the lots are very narrow, the garages will extend lot line to lot line. And for me, it was sort of a maximizing the limited space we have. So I did extend the ancillary part. So the only reason it only triggers on one side. It only triggers on the west side where the ancillary building is located. So on the east side, we are also at the lot line with the covered porch, but it doesn't get triggered. So that is a request I seek, just to maximize the area. But if you walk through any lane in Toronto with these narrow sites, it is like wall-to-wall garage, which just makes sense. Why would you keep a foot for like garbage, raccoons, trees?
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, and we're ready to go into committee. Ms. Sansole, is there anything that you still need to draw our attention to before we do that?
I put most of my concerns into the covering letter, so if you've read that, it should be there. Otherwise, I have nothing additional.
Yes, we have read the cover letter. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision.
Well, maybe I'll start, Chair. I was looking at the neighborhood. I think this application is not out of character with the surrounding neighborhood. I generally think that the variances being asked for are relatively minor. I think it's as the agent explained, it's an opportunity to sort of maximize the space that's available. I think I would, if depending on what my colleagues think, I would like to attach a condition about the habitable space, the prohibition on habitable space in the ancillary building. But other than that, I'll defer to my colleagues. But if they're okay with this, I'll maybe start with a motion to approve this application.
I see head nodding, so yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll move a motion to approve. I think there are 2 forestry conditions on this application. So I'll move to approve with the condition that the ancillary dwelling not be used for habitable purposes, and that forestry condition number 1 and 2 apply.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Ms. Valentini? Okay. So motion to approve, including forestry conditions 1 and 2, as well as condition for no habitable space, moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, it's been unanimously approved with those conditions. Okay, where are we at with Marie Black? Still no? Okay, we'll keep going then. All right, item number 8, 469 Jones Avenue. All right, we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a digital rendering of the proposed build submitted by Ms. Lamb, the agent, as well as shadow studies and email correspondence from community planning. And they don't have any concerns. We have an engineering report that has conditions. Forestry is asking for conditions 1 and 2. We have 8 form letters in support signed by residents on Jones Avenue and 2 on Earl Grey Road. And the support includes both adjacent neighbors. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, my name is Joanne Lam, and I'm representing the owners at 469 Jones Avenue.
Okay, do you have the support person also on the line? Okay, Ms. Lam, I'm just going to go to the support person first, and then I'll come back to you. Ms. Fobler, are you there? guess not. Okay, sorry, we don't have the support person on the line, so I'm coming back to you, Ms. Lamb. Panel members, do we need a presentation? Do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Clay.
Yeah, just a couple questions. I just wanted to confirm, I see you're asking for an overall height variance, a modest overall height variance. Is that attributable primarily to the green roof?
Yes, it is.
That's good. And I just wanted to confirm as well that you're not asking for any variances for the laneway suite. So that's being.
No, we're not asking for any variances for the laneway suite. We're just doing it as of right.
Right. Okay. Good.
Any other questions of the agent? Ms. Valentini?
Thank you. In terms of just the height question, again, not the overall height, but there's a variance for front and rear main wall heights in terms of, I understand it's a flat roof building and that's what's triggering it. Are there other similar situations along Jones in this vicinity?
More south of it there is, and also north of it, closer to Danforth, there is. It is more of a modern building. That's why we're going for a flat roof with this kind of condition. And we understand that Jones Avenue is a 20-meter right-of-way. And so we believe that it can support this kind of proposal on the side facing Jones.
Oh, I see. So on that side, there's a 20-meter right-of-way between the front of the lot and the road allowance. Is that correct?
It's a 20 meter. 20
meter, yes. Yeah, that's what I said. So there's buffer between that and the other side of the street. I know this area, but there are other flat roof buildings, like maybe not in the general close by, but along this strip of Jones. You said closer to Danforth and yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Seeing none, have you had success reaching? Okay. All right, panel members, unfortunately, we can't reach the neighbor. It's the adjacent neighbor, but they are in support, number 467. So let's go into committee then. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, sorry. Madam Chair, I'm in favor of this application. Initially, there is a variance for the front wall height, but I think, as the agent has said, there is a larger right-of-way along Jones Avenue, and there are some other flat roof buildings, maybe not in this exact area, but in the neighborhood, closer to Danforth, which is not that far from here. So I think that Jones, given the type of street it is, can support this type of building. And it looks like it's, from the renderings, it's going to be similar in height to, although they're peaked roofs, but in the vicinity of the height of neighboring properties. So I think in terms of impact, there will not be a great deal of impact in terms of the variances requested. And in terms of laneway suite, it's nice that there are no variances associated with that. That being said, I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval. In my view, it meets the 4 tests, and that it be subject to the conditions set out in the urban forestry memo. I think it's 1 and 2, and there's also development in engineering conditions relating to the laneway suite.
Okay, motion to approve with those 2 conditions. Moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Application's been unanimously approved. Yes? Okay, we're going back to item 6, folks. Just give me a second here. All right. Item number 6. So, Ms. Black, you're there?
I am.
Okay, I'm just going to very quickly read through what we have before us again. Copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have an arborist prepared by Tom Bradley. We have neighborhood rear yard setback diagram. We have email correspondence from community planning. And We also have email correspondence from transportation. They're okay. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. And I believe the planning email is talking about the rear softscape, and I'm not sure if that got sorted out. I didn't see anything beyond that, but perhaps you can address that. We do have opposition. We have 2 speakers listed. So if you can give us a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, starting now.
My name's Marie Black. I'm the owner. We've owned Howland for about 28 years, and it had 4 apartments when we bought it. A couple of years ago, we applied to get a permit to renovate the basement, and we started, but we discovered knob and tube wiring and some structural issues with the framing. And it just looked like those things would go through the whole house. So we decided the whole building needs to be improved and brought up to code. We'd like each unit to have its own heating and ventilation, which is a good COVID precaution, and be well insulated and meet fire and safety codes. Our proposal maintains the front of the house with a rebuilt porch on the existing footprint. At the rear, the new addition replaces a 2-story former summer porch and a 1-story basement stair shed and a wooden fire stair that protrudes out into the yard. The new addition would be about 6 inches beyond the basement stair shed, and the fire escape sticks out 10 and a half feet beyond that right now. The depth of the new addition was somewhat determined by the space required to neatly tuck that fire stair into the northwest corner. In January, Catherine Young, the city planner, contacted us to make the backyard more green and provide planters on the balconies. And we also contacted our neighbors to find out if they had any concern. And they were concerned about, there's an existing very large pine tree, and they were concerned about the balconies and the depth. So we revised the site plan to provide more green space to the satisfaction of the planner. And we didn't put planters on the decks because the neighbors thought that glass screens would be better. And we also pulled the balconies further away from the property line. We hired an arborist to make sure that what we were doing would not endanger the tree. And so we shortened a retaining wall that was coming into the canopy area, and the balconies are cut back. And the arborist would be retained on site, like while they're doing the foundation work, to make sure that no major roots are cut. And the shorter balconies will help any overlook issues. And just for the fire escape stair, like from the 3rd floor down is where it's facing the neighbor, but that's exactly what it does now, so it's the same condition. So in terms of the variances, the maximum, exceeding the maximum height by 0.06 meters is negligible because it's the height of the current roof ridge, and the rear height is 1.86 meters above what's allowed by planning. The depth, the rear wall is generally where the existing building's rear wall is now, and there's quite a few houses on the block that have this depth. The parking variance is really asking for no change from what's already there and has been there for 30 years or more. And the side yard setbacks line up with the existing house, so it's a existing condition, so I would think that that would be a minor variance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, do you want to hold questions till we hear from the opposition? Okay, Mr. Mueller? Okay, Mr. Mueller, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you please identify yourself, name and address for the record?
I'm David Muller. I live north, 334 Howland Avenue.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, starting now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I think that I'm in agreement with improving the property. I think it's a great idea, and having the renters in a safer environment for fire hazards, whatnot, I think is a good improvement on the property. My issue is that the way that the building is designed, it's not necessarily that it's just 6 inches deeper than the existing property. It steps up. So there's a small little shed that goes down to the basement, and then as you move up on the building, it's going sort of straight up. So it will create a big mass at the back of the house, which will shade my backyard. I spend quite a bit of time back there with my family, enjoying, you know, the nature, especially these days, and it will shade my backyard as well. With these balconies, they will affect my privacy, because that, you know, there's people that can be looking out now beyond my building, you know, because typically the buildings are in line along the street, and this is actually extending out. So now you will be able to sit on the balcony and look down into my backyard, and as well it'll add more shade. I also expressed concerns about this large white pine, which I'm thankful that they've done a tree survey. I do hope that the city is involved to make sure that any kind of work that's done is inspected, because it is a beautiful old tree, and you know, 4.2 meters seems to be it's the legal amount, but it does seem like it's a little amount to protect that tree. But my biggest concern really is the fact that this building will extend past, and it's quite a large mass. So out the side of my house facing south, where I get my sunlight, I will be looking at more building. It will block my view. On the third floor, it's going to put that window into shade, and as well in my backyard, I'm going to be looking at now instead of you know, sunlight and sky and a beautiful white tree, white pine. I'm going to be looking at a building that's going to go ground to third floor, straight up and square, and create quite a mass, with balconies extending beyond that. So it's not necessarily 6 inches at the top floor. It's going the full height, and it's a square roof now. It was before a peak roof, and now the whole mass is going up 3 stories, and will continue to, and will add that just a large mass of building at the end of my house.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is, well, I have Andrew and Tanya DeRosa listed. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you the one speaking, Andrew?
Yes, I am.
Okay, if you can just identify yourself, name and address for the record, and then you'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, it's Andrew DeRosa, 330 Howland, house directly south of 332.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so similar to David Muller, who is directly north to the 332 property, we're clearly not in opposition of a renewal plan of the building. Legitimately so, we would much enjoy to see something improved, which hasn't been improved for over 20 years, other than minor changes. Our greatest concerns are this 18-meter tree, white pine, which the building is abutting to, and by all instances, it seems as though it's being done within the rules, but there still are concerns about it. We built our own renovation some 10 years ago, and our setback to try to protect the roots was significantly less than what's being done right now. I was wondering what kind of assurances, you know, can be brought to kind of protect or make sure that this tree does not become a risk over time. The limbs kind of like project over our property. It seems as though some significant pruning is going to be required to build the 3-story next door. I think that the building mass as well is a major concern. Like, I think Marie Black has addressed some of the privacy issues with the back balconies, but not enough so to really make it significant for us as neighbors. I think Dave will suffer a lot more than I will. I think that the balconies have moved backwards from our end. The questions, I think there is something with the, I just wonder with the densification in regards to the city, that this being a fourplex, it remains a fourplex, but it doesn't add to the densification of the downtown core in any way. It's somewhat, the massing is out of character with the neighborhood. If you look at the general kind of projections of buildings along the strip on the south facing side of Howland, you'll notice that there are 1 stories which project the same distance, but there is certainly no 3 stories with that kind of blocking. It doesn't present any greater intensification. It's certainly not affordable housing or greater affordable housing. It seems to just be a larger building as a whole, which objectively kind of affects both the house to the south and to the north, and further down the strip as well. So I think that's it.
Okay, panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. DeRosa. Ms. Black, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you please address the issues that have been raised regarding the tree shadowing, the height, massing, privacy issues, etc.? So you have 5 minutes.
Well, we did hire an arborist, and he felt very confident that the work would not injure the tree, and it's certainly our intention to maintain the tree. It is a deciduous tree, an evergreen tree that provides shade year-round, and it is very massive. So the whole backyard of all 3 properties they're all quite shady because of this big tree. In order to make the apartments safer and better, I need that space at the back to put a proper fire stair. The one that is there now that just sticks way out into the yard is not a good overlook situation. But that said, there are balconies on the back of the house now that only slightly further in towards the house, like that are equal in terms of overlook. Like, it's no kind of new condition in terms of privacy for either of the neighbors. I think the one thing for the neighbors that is a big change is the 3-story height. And I have looked at that, and I feel that perhaps the 3rd floor could be pulled back to be equal to their houses, and that might help with, there wouldn't be a balcony up there. Like, we would pull everything back the 2 meters to help with sun and, make it more like it is now, because I could still do that and maintain the fire exit stair as it needs to be safer.
Okay, that would change all the variances, correct? Or a lot of them anyway.
I think it might change only one. Only the 2nd variance would it change. The rear height, because then it would be stepping up. So I think the rear wall would be shorter and not, so number 2, the variance would change. But I think all the other variances would stay the same.
Did you want to? Oh, okay. And do you have the calculation for that or not? I mean, usually when we have changes, we usually, I don't know about my panel members, but if you can give us the calculation, but it still doesn't change the fact that the plans are different, right? And so we usually would look at deferring the item.
Well, I would like to hear from my neighbors, and it's just like we tried to sort things out before committee, but you know, then the meeting came up and we've been waiting 9 months, and so things just kind of got going. So I would like to hear from them if they would consider that, and then I would be happy to change the plans. I don't know what calculation you would be looking for in terms of the variances.
Well, the point is that we're approving variances today, so we need accurate variances. And which is, if you're going to make a modification, then it would make more sense that it were deferred. It's unfortunate this wasn't done ahead of time. You could have submitted revised plans and discussed it with the neighbors. Like we're not able to do breakout rooms in person. I could have sent you out of the room and you could have marked up the drawing, but I can't do that now. So, you know, I think you'd probably need to defer the item and then meet with your neighbors and see if that would satisfy them. I mean, I can just very quickly ask, but as you know, the process is such that once the opposition has spoken, that's kind of, you know, we don't do negotiating on the floor. Okay, so let me just quickly go back then to, let me start with Mr. Mueller. Did you just hear what the neighbor, the agent said, that they're willing to step back the third story at the rear, which means the plans would change and the variance number 2, according to the agent, would change? Is that something that would satisfy your concerns? If so, we probably still need to defer the item.
I believe it's much more in keeping with the existing building and would be better for me.
Okay, Mr. DeRosa, the same question.
I think the same answer, plans to be seen and discussions to be had, because consultations were had with the neighbor, which we made our feelings very clear, but a response did not come, so.
Okay, Ms. Black, to you then. You know, I still have to go to my panel members, but in order to make the change that you're suggesting now, we would have to defer the item and you'd have to come back with revised plans, and I would very strongly suggest that you have discussions with the adjacent neighbors so that when you do come back, you know, it's something palatable to everybody, and you don't find yourself in the same situation.
Okay, thanks very much.
So would you like to proceed with the deferral, or?
Yeah.
Yes?
And, yeah.
Okay. Panel members on the deferral.
Madam Chair, it's unfortunate we spent a whole bunch of time on this application and this wasn't brought up before. I'm not usually very keen on deferrals, but given that the applicant has made a commitment to reducing the third floor, and that will alleviate hopefully some of the concerns of the neighbor, in this case, I will support a deferral. Like I said, this should have been done earlier. We've just wasted a bunch of time and other people are waiting, but I will support a deferral given that the applicant has made a commitment to reducing and hopefully appeasing the neighbors.
Okay, anyone else want to weigh in?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Lisa said. You know, it would be great if, given this virtual format that we have, it sort of limits us a little bit when situations where there is a significant amount of opposition and the applicant is willing to make changes and hadn't done that already, that they kind of state that up front so that we don't end up spending an awful lot of time. But having said that, and being a bit of a curmudgeon, I will second Lisa's motion to defer.
Okay, So, Ms. Valentini, is that a motion then to defer?
It's a motion now, yes.
Okay, so a motion to defer moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, and would that be no more than 3 months, or what would be the timing? Okay, so it would be 3 months or the earliest available date. So to you, Ms. Black, it's up to you how quickly you get in touch with the neighbors, have discussions, and get what you need to file back to the Committee of Adjustment. All right, thank you, everyone. And let's move on to item number 9, 52 McPherson Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have before us email correspondence from Heritage Preservation Services. And they're okay with what's being proposed. We have a staff report from Tree Protection. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. And I'm showing 4 letters in support from residents on McPherson Avenue, and that includes both adjacent neighbors. And do I have the agent on the line?
Yes.
Hi, can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West, agent for the owner.
All right, panel members, do you need a presentation? Seeing none, do you have any questions of the agent? No? Okay, Mr. Dome, do you have anything? We've read the material, we're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you feel you need to add before we do that?
No, if you don't require a presentation, then it's okay to go ahead.
Okay, great. Panel members, we'll take it into committee. Any discussion?
Chair, I am in support of this application. Looking at the variances requested, it is for a rear and side 1-story addition, so it's only going up 1 stories. There is a depth variance, but from my reading of the plans, it's not going to be too much further back than the abutting neighbor at 50. We've got support from adjacent neighbors as well, so I am in support, and from Heritage. So I'm in support of this application. I'm happy to bring a motion unless my colleagues want to make comments, but
I think you're good to...
I think there's a forestry condition,
Yep.
Lisa?
Yep.
Forestry too?
Yep, so I'll bring a motion forward for approval and it'd be subject to urban forestry condition number, oh, I wrote 1, but.
It's 2.
Oh.
I wrote 2.
It's 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it
Subject
I'll
to
second.
urban forestry.
I'll second that.
Okay, so motion to approve, including forestry, condition number 2, moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay, item number 10, 49 Strathern Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Mr. Barton, the agent, previous decision affecting the property, planning justification letter prepared by Mr. Barton. We have email correspondence from transportation right away. They're talking about a notch, as per my notes. And then we also have TRCA, they're okay. They just want the required permits taken out. 2 form letters in support from numbers 51, which is adjacent, and 45 Strathern. Okay, can I have the agent identify himself for the record, please?
Oh, hi, it's Michael Barton. I am the agent and applicant.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do any of you have any questions for Mr. Barton? Mr. Clay, did you have a question, or? No? Okay, Mr. Barton, we've read all the material. There are no questions from the panel. We're ready to go into committees, or anything you feel you need to add before we do that?
The only comments I would have would be that we were okay with that transportation condition. so no concerns there. And I think that there was a lot of engagement here by the owner of both the neighborhood and the city staff to get to this point. So I think it's really worked well to get everyone on board with the proposal.
Okay, so the removal of that notch in the driveway, you're working with transportation on that then?
Yes, that's no concern. It's really just a design change, which won't affect the design material. There's no concerns there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll move into committee. Panel members, any comments, discussion?
So I'll start, Chair. I was looking at this in detail. It's actually quite an aesthetically pleasing design, notwithstanding everything else. It's a really rather large lot. I think my original concern was mostly the fact that it was a ravine, and there were some concerns, potential concerns, about the impact on that ravine. But since TRCA has weighed in and have no concerns, I thought it was a good proposal, and in keeping very much with the neighborhood and the surrounding lot sizes and built form in the neighborhood. I have no problem if my colleagues agree to move a motion to approve this application subject to transportation conditions.
I don't know that we need a condition for transportation. I think, do we, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we need a condition for that? It was just a requirement in an email regarding the notch.
I think it is a condition.
It is? Okay. Okay, yeah, Ms. Hayes?
I would just like to add, I'm a support of Mr. Clay's motion. Just like to add that from the materials that were filed with us, the sports court or the recreation use variance, the information submitted to us that there was a permit granted for that as far back as 2008. So it's not, that recreation use is not new use in the area. So just to add that to the rationale already provided. And I would second that motion.
Okay, so then the motion Mr. Clay moved, which is seconded by Ms. Hayes, is to approve the application, including the condition that the additional driveway notch, which appears to be constructed perpendicular to the main driveway and contained mostly on private property, must be removed from the public right-of-way on STRATHEARN Road. And that's in, I think it's an April 4th email. Anyway, it's in an email. So all in favor of that motion? Okay, your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 11, 60 Belmont Street. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have email correspondence from the Assistant Planner, Community Planning. We have also correspondence from Ravine and Natural Feature Protection, Assistant Planner, Heritage Preservation Services. And I believe Heritage is actually looking for a condition, and I believe the planning concern was dealt with and Ravine didn't have any concerns. Correspondence in support from number 32 Belmont, as well as four form letters in support from number 44, 52, 56, and 64. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, my name is Joe Dome, 1101 Steeles Avenue West, again.
Ah, you're back. Okay. Yes. Panel members, we don't have any opposition. Do you need any, a presentation? Do you have any questions of the agent? Okay, I'm seeing no questions. Mr. Dome, I think we're ready to go into committee. Is there anything that you feel we need to know before we do that? We've read all the supporting material.
Yes, you've already pointed out that the correspondence from planning has been dealt with, and with the revisions, they have no other concern.
Okay, and you're aware of the heritage condition, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, panel members, let's take it into committee.
Madam Chair, I'll start. I'd be supporting this in support of this application. The depth being requested is similar to the depth at 62. The second story addition does not extend the entire width of the existing building, therefore lessens impact. Planning's concern, I understand, has been addressed. Ravine has no conditions, and Heritage has the standard condition. I think it's certainly in context with the other built forms along that unique stretch on Belmont Street, and I would be supportive of the application subject to the heritage condition. That would be my motion if there's no other comments from my colleagues.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Clay. Okay, so motion to approve, including the heritage conditions in the December 8th, 2020 report, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 12, 159 Indian Road, Crescent. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have staff reports from engineering. They're asking for conditions. Forestry is asking for condition number 2. We had opposition from 155 Indian Road, 82 and 98 Abbott Road. The concerns appear to be laneway access, fire code standards, massing height, garbage bin location, and construction noise. All right, is the applicant or on the agent, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. It's Peter Burton. I'm the owner and agent.
Okay, I'm not showing any speakers listed. Panel members, do you need a presentation from Mr. Burton, or do you have any questions?
Chair, maybe I'm surprised that the speakers that have written in, or the people who have written in, aren't on the line. I'd ask the owner if you've seen those letters of opposition, you had any thoughts or response in general to the issues that have been raised.
I haven't seen the letters. The committee, I contacted the committee to see if there was anything about 10 days ago, and they just gave me the reports that were done by city departments with no objections. They just had comments about, garden sheds and things like that. Just so I can address I just heard them briefly. So regarding construction, our intention is to use helical piles, so there's not a lot of excavation. The building would be built on grade, so that's the main thing. Construction, it affects our own tenants. I've spoken to the tenants in the triplex, and it's my intention to move into this building, so I want to keep them happy, and they've said, well, they'll work with me to make sure that the construction is, minimizing them, and I'd have to give them incentives as well, like probably a month's free rent while the worst of the construction is going on. But construction is construction. There's a lot of it going on in the area, and maybe that's what people are objecting to.
Maybe the follow-up.
Well, do you want me to
Yes,
repeat
please.
the concerns? So they talked about laneway access being restricted, fire code standards, massing of what you're proposing, height, where the garbage bins are located, yeah, so those were the main issues. And Mr. Clay, I don't know if I missed any or if you had any other ones noted.
No, thanks, Chair. I think it's the massing issue, the size of the proposed laneway suite that I think I read from the letters.
So the issue is that it's a unique property, and that it's an L-shaped property allowing laneway access off the L. And the building is replacing 2 existing garages that are in between 3 other garages. So it's kind of an infill project. The massing, the height is off by about 2 feet because of the parapet, But I guess if we needed to shorten the ceiling heights, we could adjust the height to eliminate that variance of 0.55 meters. That's one thing we could do. In terms of laneway access, there's no obstruction to the laneway whatsoever. There's no garage on the building. So I don't know, we've set it back from the laneway. So I don't know, that wouldn't affect laneway access at all. And in terms of the massing, as I said, the height is an issue, I guess, which we can reduce that to 6 meters as required. I just didn't even realize it was going to be a big issue because of the parapet. And then the length of the building, I guess, is the other massing issue. So garbage disposal, we'll have garbage bins in a shed. We're going to put that on the side yard there. So we have the garbage bins in the back right now, and the neighbor to the south, their whole backyard is paved, and they have 3 garages on the back there as well. So I don't think it will affect them. I'm not sure. I think the main neighbor that would be affected would be the one to the east at the back, and I'm not sure we've heard from them, but I haven't been able to. A lot of these houses are tenanted, and I wasn't able to contact the owners in all cases. So I guess if I had to shorten the building, we could do that, I suppose. I'm not sure what it would achieve, but because it's between the 3 garages and there's already garages there. The upper level sets back on the east side as well. It's kind of a unique situation. That's really what's driven the plan.
Okay, any further questions, panel members?
Sure, Madam Chair. It's more of a comment, but I think the applicant has kind of tried to address it. I have to say my original concern, or a concern I have, is the size of the building in terms of is it a width variance? I'm trying to look at how the variances work. I think it's a variance for the width or the length of the building. It is a large proposed laneway suite. I think I saw it has 3 bedrooms. It's almost like a full house. I don't know what the square footage is offhand. Oh yeah, so it is the width variance from 8 meters to 13.67. And I think that is coupled with the variance that's being requested for reduction in softscape between the main building and the laneway suite. So maybe Mr. Burton can speak to, are there other, I guess he did identify that there are 2 structures there currently, but perhaps you could expand on the softscape issue. I mean, I have trouble wrapping my head around the size of the building and how that is, compatible with it being a laneway suite and the reduction in softscape. I don't know if there's anything else you can speak to about those issues.
Well, there's no reduction in softscaping because there's garages at the back and an area for the garbage disposal. If you look at the plan, the shaded area is the existing softscape, and that's not changing. We've added some softscape at the front of the building, the shaded area that's hatched at the request of the city, and then we've added more on the lane side. In terms of the length, I have looked at, what would modifying the length be? What would it do? And it could be modified in length by 2.4 meters from 13.67 to 11.27 from the south side moving north. So the north setback would remain the same. The south side would not exactly align with the main house, but it would be back by, it's 8 feet really, 2.4 meters. And that would provide an area along the side for an entrance instead of off the parking area. And we could maintain the soft landscaping. So I looked at the idea of maybe shortening it and seeing what that would do, and I think I could live with that if I had to. But the soft landscaping is no different. That's all paved area.
having trouble unmuting. Okay, that in terms of the softscape, I didn't quite understand. I mean, you are proposing to build something new, so you could increase the softscape, but I just wanted to sort of, I don't know if my colleagues have any other comments. I find this one to be challenging because it is. Would reducing it change anything in terms of impact or overlook on neighbors? It may not. So I just, any comments on that, Mr. Burton?
Well, only the east neighbor, and they don't have any comment. They've already got a wall along there anyway. It's at the very back of their lot, and there's kind of corner space, which is probably only shaded in the summertime after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So, because we're facing due west, they haven't commented, so I'm not sure it's an issue. But it could be cut back if it had to be. I just think it's a unique situation to get this L-shaped lot, and that's when I'm an architect, and I saw it, I went, wow, that's a really good opportunity. So
I'm just looking at the location map, and so it does look like there are a lot of garages abutting it.
Yes.
And are they all butted up to the lot line? Is that sort of the situation? I mean,
yeah, within the 4 inches or something.
4 inches, yeah. Okay, I don't know. My colleagues may have other comments. I'm just still grappling with this one, but thank you for your comments. That helps for sure.
I guess is the paved area in the backyard now all parking, and is the softscape that is currently there actually stayed a softscape, or are people using it as parking?
No, the parking right now, there's 3 units there. The parking is used by 2 of them. You can actually fit 3 on the white area if you squeeze them in, because their guests use them sometimes. The basement or the lower level apartment doesn't have parking, doesn't use parking. But the soft landscaping is going to be redone. That's just right now, it's just grass, right? And when we redo this, we're going to have to have to redo the pavement and redo the landscaping properly so that it'd be a curb and we'd stop people from parking there.
Okay, because there was some commentary in some of the letters with respect to, the use of the rear yard in these buildings anyway. I did drive down that laneway. They are all, the garages are back, next to each other. There doesn't seem to be, in many cases, if at all, any side yards that allow access from the lane to the backyards, except through the garages. But it's very tight. The size of the structure is what I'm struggling with a little bit. As one of my colleagues has mentioned. I'd like to just hear a little bit more about the building width variance and the justification for that, if you have anything else to mention about that.
I guess it's, if you have the entrance there, the staircase takes up a lot of space, and so you come in the main entrance where the black triangle is, and you divide the house into 2 areas. One is the living space and the other is the kitchen dining area. And then the staircase is, going up to the center. There's a glass skylight at the top, and then these are actually, one is an office for home office and the other is a guest bedroom. And it's just the way the building divided up. If like shortening the building could be done with a totally different plan, but I'm not sure what it's achieving, because it's just going to create a gap between the garage and the house, the neighbor's garage and the house. So that's why when I'm designing it, I look at it and I go, makes sense. It's just it's infill. It's not really encroaching on anything. So I understand the concern with the length being not that minor, but in this kind of an extenuating circumstance, we can undertake. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it does kind of relate to that. I don't seem to have an east elevation. I don't know if it's just my plans, but are there windows along the east side? What is sort of the situation? Is that the east elevation or is that the south?
That's the south. The east elevation has no windows, except for that one in the jog, facing
Yeah,
south.
but I don't.
See that?
So,
That window is set back in the
so
plan.
was that the east elevation? Can you just bring that back? I don't have an east elevation in my.
There isn't one. I didn't.
Oh, there isn't one. You just said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there is just a small window, you said, in the jog?
In the jog, but it's facing south. If you look at the bathroom layout, there, it's the
Oh,
roof
I
sets.
see it.
It sets back the roof there.
So if I'm looking at the ensuite, there's a tiny little window on the
Well,
side of the ensuite.
Yeah, it's a
Is that
foot
it?
and a half wide. Yeah, it just lets some light into the bathroom. So that's a setback. The lower level is right to the lot line, but the upper level is set back.
Okay, and there are no windows on the lower level on the east side.
No, and I had a window in the walk-in closet, but the city asked me to remove it, so I did.
Okay. So in terms of impact on the east side for overlook and whatnot, there would be,
None. Yeah.
yes. Okay, thank you. I'm just working my way through the plans, but thank you.
Okay, any
worries.
further questions, panel members? Seeing none, all right, let's take it into committee.
So
I'm happy to, oh, sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm happy to start. I think we're all struggling with the size of this proposed laneway suite. I want to harken back a little bit. When council approved this, they put a lot of thought into size and impact, and they have put a restriction of 8 meters for width and 10 meters for length, and 13 meters. I totally get the applicant's points about the unique nature of the lot. It is a unique lot. It's an L-shaped lot, and trying to maximize it. But I am concerned about a variance of the magnitude that is being proposed, and it's kind of, you marry that up with the applicant's stated interest in maybe even making it shorter, and it just seems to me that there's an opportunity to kind of make this building, notwithstanding the unique nature of the lot, but it could in fact be a little bit more consistent with what council in approving a laneway suite provisions were thinking about when this was originally adopted. So I am concerned that that the length and the height, the massing is maybe the laneways that are there already have large garages on, but I am concerned about approving an application that exceeds the current zoning requirements so excessively. So I'm leaning towards not supporting this application.
Any other comments, panel members?
I would agree with the comments of my colleagues. Although the garages seem to be from full width, it's not a two-story structure, and I think that the size of what's being proposed, in my opinion, I believe is too large and is not in keeping with what was intended, and I think the variances to make it happen are excessive for my comfort level.
Okay, anyone else, or if not, we have to move forward with a motion. I mean, I'll just say this, like, I agree with what's been said. These suites seem to be getting larger and larger. A suite to me is like a bachelor suite, you know, a more contained unit. This is almost like having a house, although I do recognize the unique situation of the lot. So, yeah, I'm somewhat conflicted, but I do agree it's quite large. And there is opportunity to increase the softscape, which would really help with drainage issues and whatnot, because there's so much concrete in the backs and the laneway and garages side by side. So those are my thoughts on this.
So, Chair, just to spark a vote on this one, I'll move a motion to refuse this application. I mean, you know, the applicant can bring forward another application at a later date, which might actually be more consistent with coming with the bylaws. But for now, I think it's, for the reasons we've all stated, we think it's just a little bit too far beyond what the current provisions for the bylaw allow. So I'll move a motion to refuse this application.
Okay, motion to refuse. All in favor? Or actually, is there a seconder? So Joanne, did you want a second? Okay, so motion to refuse is moved by Mr. Clay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously refused. Thank you. Does anybody need a break? 5 minutes, or do you want to keep going? Yes? Okay, we'll take 5 minutes and then we'll come back with item 13, which is 238 Rushmore, so at 11:35 by the computer. Getting big. Okay. Oh, have we lost two people? Oh, okay. Okay, we're ready to go. So the next item is item number 13, 238 Rushton Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 24 photographs of neighboring properties with similar builds to what's being proposed. We have correspondence in support from number 240, which is adjacent. And I don't see any opposition. And based on my research, I think number 240, which is adjacent, or I'm sorry, 242 has a basement entrance. Okay. So is the agent on the line? Have we lost Larry? I think we can proceed with 3. So do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, hi. This is Deep Sahota. I'm with Orana.
Hi. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Can we go to questions? Do either of you have any questions? Okay. Mr. Sahota, we've read all the materials and we don't have any questions, don't need a presentation. Is there anything you feel that wasn't in the materials that you want to bring to our attention before we go into committee?
Not really.
All right, thank you. Okay, panel members, we're in committee.
I'll start. I think this is a very minor application. The materials that were submitted were good in showing examples of other walkouts, and I think that the application is indeed minor, and I would be in support of it. And if my colleague has no further comments, that would be my motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Okay, so motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Our next item is item number 14, 83 Hiawatha Road. Actually, let me just write something down here. Okay. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from Mr. McLeod, the agent, as well as correspondence that's talking about planning rationale, a map of the Montessori school, form letters in support, which are listed below. We have more presentation materials from Mr. McLeod. We have email correspondence from Right-of-Way Management, and they don't have any concerns. We have correspondence in support from number 210 Ashdale, 77 and 80 Hiawatha Road, as well as 220, 231 Ashdale Road, and 82 Hiawatha, and correspondence in opposition from 236 Ashdale Road. And I believe the concerns that were expressed were regarding parking, the school's traffic drop-off, and the use of the church versus the school, sorry. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
My name is Benjamin Larson, and I'm authorized to speak on behalf of, with respect to their proposed minor variances.
Okay, we don't have any opposition. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Okay, do you have any questions for Mr. Larson?
I just have one question that I'd just like him to address. One of the objections had concerns with respect to the drop-off pickup situation. Now, I know in your submissions you've indicated that although the school would be expanding within the current property, that the enrollment was still going to stay at 100. But do you have any comments with respect to the concerns about the traffic tie-ups with pickups and drop-offs?
Yes, most certainly. With respect to traffic flow and the concern about more students, you are correct. There They are not seeking to expand the enrollment. It's staying the same at 100 students. Regarding the technical aspects of the drop-offs, this was subjected to a site plan control application as well. It was scoped, it was technical, and transportation staff reviewed that exact detail about drop-offs. They're aware of how it's supposed to function, and they have signed off on it. And we just learned from city planning this week that statement of approval is imminent and expected to be provided on May 17th. So in terms of the actual traffic flows, there will be no more students than what existed before, and city transportation are okay with how it's going to function.
Thank you.
Just to follow up with that, if I could just ask a follow-up question. I'm sorry, Joanne, I don't know if you have any more questions. It's related to that. In terms of the drop-offs, I know this has been operating since 2002. I put a note here, so it's nothing new. It's been in the neighborhood for quite a while. But is the current drop-off situation the same as what you're proposing, or is there changes?
It'll be the same as it's currently proposing. The existing Montessori school is they've considered this, and they've done and they've implemented certain things like staggered start times for the different degrees of services that they provide, the daycare or the childcare versus the actual elementary Montessori. So the staggering of drop-offs is one thing they do, and another thing they do is staff are available on site and they come out to get, I guess, the kids from the cars to bring them in. And this has all been provided in detail to city transportation. You can see it in their memos, which I have uploaded as a presentation, but they're aware of that function, and that's how it has been working, and that's how it will continue to be working.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll take it into committee.
Having read all the correspondence that was submitted as part of this application and the rationale submitted by the applicant's counsel, and given the fact that the school has been in place since 2002, although it was an accessory use, not the primary use, there's no true change to existing conditions. I did have some concerns with respect to the traffic congestion that was noted, but I understand through the submissions that were filed in advance and now the verbal submissions that this has gone through site plan control. City staff are satisfied with the plan that has been submitted, and they have said there's no objections. Planning has no objections. There is support from some neighbors. I would be in support of the continued use. And if my colleague has no further comments, that would be my motion to approve the application with no conditions.
I'm in support of that motion. I'll second it, and I agree. I mean, the fact that it's been operating for so long, and they've tried to address any issues with traffic congestion. I mean, we do have one letter of opposition, but we have quite a bit of support. So I'm happy to second the motion for approval. I think it's a good use.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Ms. Valentini. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Can anybody figure out or find out where Larry, what's happened to him? Do you guys? Okay. Okay, great. All right. Item number 15 is 927 Queen Street West. And we have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, email correspondence from transportation. They don't have any concerns. And I believe that there is a late report that came in this morning from Heritage. Do you have the condition? Maybe you could read it if you don't mind. I know it's the standard condition, but just so people know.
Could you bring it up? Yeah.
So we're just pulling that up, and just for the public, we can just read the standard condition. Okay. So, panel members, that's the report that was submitted to committee by Heritage this morning. Okay, now I'm showing three, hold on. Yeah, I'm showing 3 speakers, but 2 are for the same address. Are they on the line, all of them, or?
No, I'll have to try to call them and reconnect.
So none of them are on the line?
Only the agent.
Only the agent?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to move on. You have to call 3 people. Okay. Mr. Glazer, are you there?
Okay,
So,
great.
Mr. Glazer?
Yes, good morning.
Hi, I'm really sorry, but we've lost the opposition, and I'd like to just stand this down and move on to item 16, if you don't mind, so that we can try to get the people that are listed to speak back on the line. Their calls have dropped for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for your understanding. Okay, so we are going to go to item 16, which is 39 LaSalle's Boulevard. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from Jane McFarland, the applicant, previous decisions affecting properties at 91 Hillsdale Avenue West and 111 Eastbourne Avenue and 45 Collin, correspondence in support from number 37 and 35, 41 LaSalle, so both adjacent properties, as well as 109 Imperial, 26 Collin, and 32 Collin. And I don't believe there's no conditions or staff reports. Do I have the agent on the line? Ms. McFarland, are you there?
I can try giving her a call. I see her listed though.
Okay. Oh, Larry, you're back. Great. Well, we got technical
Sounds an
issues now.
extension, though,
We keep
so I don't know
losing people on this end, so bear with me for a minute.
I don't think it will call. I did unmute her, but she didn't.
Want to try again?
Yeah. Let's try there. Hi, Jane, are you there?
Hi, Jane. We've unmuted you on our end. If you can try speaking into the microphone. Oh, yeah, so you're unmuted now. Try speaking into the microphone. No, so we're not getting anything on your end or coming through. Maybe if you have a set of headphones or something like that that you can plug in, that might help. If not, we can try giving you a call. Unfortunately, the number you provided us has an extension, and we can't type that extension into WebEx, so I will send you an email right now.
So she's hearing you think?
Yeah, she's muted.
Okay. do I dare?
Hi, Jane. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I assume you heard me read what we had before us.
Good morning.
Hi, so you heard what I read, that we had all the items before us, or do you need me to read it again? Or did you hear that, Jane, or not? Maybe she, hi, Jane.
Hi there.
Hi, did you hear all the stuff I read before, all the materials we have before us, or do you need me to read it again?
Yes, I did hear you, Madam Chair. I could
Okay.
hear everything, but you just could not hear me.
Yeah, okay, great. So, I don't have anybody speaking in opposition. If you can just identify yourself for the record, and then I'll see if the panel members need a presentation or not.
Certainly. Good morning. My name is Jane McFarlane. I'm a planner with Weston Consulting, the planning agent on behalf of the owners of 39 LaSalle's Boulevard.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, do you need a presentation? Do you have any questions of the agent? Okay, Jane, panel, we've read all the materials. We don't need a presentation. The panel members don't have any questions. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything that you feel you need to add before we do that?
Madam Chair, I don't at this moment. The letters of support from the immediate neighbors and the neighbor backing on to LaSalle's Boulevard, which is on Collin, were identified by yourself, as well as my letter, which contained previous decisions approving variances very similar to what we're seeking today. So I don't have any further comments. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go into committee, and I'll just add that, there's other homes that exist with integral garages, and I think that the design is really in keeping with what's with other existing homes in the area, and I'll defer to my panel members for any further comment.
Madam Chair, I'd be prepared to start. I would agree with your comments. The submission submitted with this application provided a number of examples in the immediate neighborhood in reference to the variances being requested. I think that the application and the design is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. There is support from the immediate neighbors as well as other support, and I believe that this meets the test under the Planning Act. And if my colleagues have no further questions, my motion would be to approve the application, no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Clay? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Clay. All in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously approved. Now, can we go back to 15? So, okay, we're panel members, we're gonna go back to item number 15, which is 927 Queen Street West. And we're unable to get a hold of the people listed here that wanted to speak in opposition. We've tried a number of times. I'll just quickly read again. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. And we have email correspondence from permits and enforcement parking. They basically don't have any concerns because there's a lot of public transportation available in the area. So can I have the agent please identify himself for the record.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Madam Chair. It's Larry Glazer from Glazer Architects.
Hi. Let me see if the panel members have any, will need a presentation or if they have any questions.
Sure.
Anybody? Elisa?
Just, is the applicant aware of the new condition being requested by Heritage in terms of it being made subject to the plans being made subject to their approval prior to obtaining a building permit? Are you okay with that condition, sir?
Yeah, that's fine. We had chatted with them anyway. They wanted to ensure that the color of the finishes on the upper floor were dark, so they would recede from the elevation of the existing buildings. So that's straightforward.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Glazer, we've read the material. We are ready to go into committee unless there's something you feel you need to add that's not in the materials.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, great. Panel members, we'll take it into committee for a decision and any comments.
Madam Chair, I think this one is very straightforward. It is a request for a parking variance, but as you pointed out, this is in a neighborhood right on Queen Street and very accessible in terms of public transportation. I don't see any issues with the proposed parking variance being requested, and in fact, transportation had no comment. So unless my colleagues have something else to say, I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval, and it be subject to the condition requested by Heritage about we just discussed.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Valentini, including the heritage condition in the May 11th report. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Okay, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, the application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 17. 433 Wellesley Street East. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a previous decision affecting the subject property. And we have a letter in support from the adjacent neighbor at 435 Wellesley. Do I have the agent on the line?
Christopher McCormack.
Okay. Panel members, there's nobody else speaking. Do you need a presentation on this item? No? Do you have any questions for Mr. McCormick? No? Ms. Valentini?
I'm just not a question for the applicant necessarily, but I just noticed this is designated. We don't have any comments from Heritage. Is that correct?
I haven't seen any unless there's something else that came in that I'm not aware of.
Perhaps it's because it's a one-story rear addition now that I look at it, but
yeah, maybe.
As long as I'm not missing something.
No,
thank you.
I don't have any. I don't have anything noted in my notes from staff. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's take it into, yeah, Mr. McCormick, we're ready to go into committee. Is there anything that you need to add that's not in the materials we have?
The only thing that
Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit.
I'm not sure why.
Hold on a second, it's echoing really bad here. Do you have anything going in the background at all?
Is this okay now?
Better. Try again.
Hello?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let's see how it goes. It sounds better.
Okay, the only thing, let me just.
Nope. Sorry, it's. I don't know what's going on.
Christopher, if you have something playing the hearing in the background, you'll have to turn the volume down on that. So if you maybe have, like, if you're using your phone and your laptop or something like that, turn one of those down, and we shouldn't be getting an echo anymore.
Uh-oh, we lost Larry again.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah,
Perfect.
much better. Okay, go ahead. What did you want to say?
I'm sorry, what I was going to add, if it's of any interest to you, I am an architect in Cabbagetown. I live there and have been for 20 years, and I am on the Heritage Committee, and I would not have seen this as any issue.
Okay, well, thank you for pointing that out. So, okay, anything else? Because we're ready to go into committee to make a decision.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, panel members, we're in committee.
Madam Chair, I think this one is very straightforward in my view. I did note that there's an FSI request at 1.16, and I noted that the existing is 1.12. It's a rear one-story addition with a ground floor deck. I don't see any impact, in my view, that's going to arise as a result of this one-story addition. So, and we have no conditions, no comments from any other staff. So, and I did note that the adjacent neighbor is also okay with it. So I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval. As for the reasons I stated, I think this truly is a minor variance.
Okay, motion to approve moved by Ms. Valentini, seconded by Ms. Hayes. Okay, all in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously approved. Our final item this morning is 31 Kimberley Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a property report prepared by Ms. French. We have correspondence in opposition from 26 and 35 Kimberley Road. And I'm showing one speaker in opposition. Do we have them on the line? Okay. Yeah. All right. Can I have the agent please identify himself for the record?
Yes, good morning. This is Magnus Clark with Paradigm Architecture and Design at 2198 Gerrard Street East.
Okay, Mr. Clark, we do have one speaker in opposition, so if you could give us a presentation, no more than 5 minutes, and we're starting the clock now.
Understood. Thank you for your time this morning. This is a comparatively straightforward set of minor variances that we're applying for. We believe they're all in compliance with the intent of the zoning bylaws and the official plan. 31 Kimberley is a single-family dwelling on Kimberley Avenue in the Beaches neighborhood. What's being proposed are a number of things in a few phases of construction. What's represented here in these design drawings would be the complete and total state of the building on a successful application here at committee. Perhaps we can scroll down to the site plan at A1.1. Very good. So the grayed out block in the top left you can see is the existing upper parts of the building. We're proposing an addition that would stretch out the mass of the building above grade to the, as of right, 17-meter building depth. Beyond that, you'll see the 7.2 meter deep proposed deck. We are proposing there's some occupied area underneath that, and then immediately below that on the page where it says area drain would be a walkout from the basement. The intent is that there would be a secondary suite in the basement here. Perhaps we can go down to A16, the front elevation. The building will in fact be getting a little bit higher than it is today. You can see there's an existing building to the south which has been recently substantially renovated. And then there's a building to the north which has been renovated even more recently, just in the last few months. We're not asking for any variance in terms of height. We are asking for a small variance on the side yard setback on the north side, which relates to that rear deck we were just referring to. It's only a few centimeters. The maximum depth of the building we just spoke to a moment ago. Again, the intent is that we would have a 17-meter deep main building, which is the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor. The variance relates strictly to the proposed deck, that's 7.2 meters in the back. I will note that we were in discussion with community planning, Ms. Stephanie Hong, recently, and she has no comment on this, but she did want as a condition exactly what I just described, such that the 17-meter depth would only be allowed for stories 1, 2, and 3, and the larger depth, the 24 meters that we're asking for, would only be applicable to the rear deck. This right here is a good illustration of exactly that concept. So we're just a little surprised that those conditions hadn't made it to committee. We agree entirely with those conditions. The FSI, we're asking to go from the allowed 0.69 to 0.76, which is a 7% increase, which we think is quite minor. The final variance is for the height of the main walls. Obviously, we're taking it from a traditional peak roof to something with a flat roof, and that's what has precipitated this change. Perhaps we can go to A24, if you please. This is a quick rendering of the rear of the building. I think it indicates pretty clearly that the massing is appropriate in terms of its size between the two existing structures. It's not stepping out, it's not further back. Its shadow impacts will be completely minimal compared to particularly the building immediately to the north. I'm going to address some of the objections. Currently the parking is legal non-conforming, and I would note that we're only 460 meters walking distance to a transit hub in the form of a GO station and the Main Street subway station. This is a very transit-friendly part of the world. The shadows, again, we've done a shadow study, but I haven't included it here. The impacts on the housing to the north are absolutely minimal because the form and mass slots right in with everything that's already existing. The secondary suite we really believe to be in keeping with the official plan and the notion of gentle intensification. And I would like to address the allegations of our application timing. We've been entirely subject to the vagaries of the process of applying for a minor variance. There is currently some construction happening on site, which has been characterized as phase 1 of this work. It's entirely legal, it's appropriately permitted, it's in progress right now. It's had a few technical challenges that have been put to bed. And finally, there was one other allegation of trees having been removed from this lot, which is factually incorrect. We've completely complied with anything that forestry would have to say about this. There was no trees removed from this site during any of the current construction. That's all I have to say currently. May I ask if there's any questions?
Panel members, did you want to ask questions now or wait till the opposition speaks? We'll wait? Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. We'll have you back after I hear from the opposition. Mr. Owens, are you on the line?
I am.
Hi, can you please identify yourself for the record?
I'm Rick Owens. I am the owner of 53 Swanwick Avenue, around the corner from the subject property, and I have sight of it from the back windows of my home and from my backyard.
Okay, Mr. Owens, you have 5 minutes. We're starting the clock now.
Thank you. My concerns are largely consistent with what has been submitted in writing by other neighbors. The proposed changes will result in a final structure that is aesthetically unlike anything in the immediate area, and the design seems to attend to the maximization of entertainment space without attention to appearance. In fact, they're simply keeping and wrapping that clapboard country style around a large and ugly box. I'm struck by the creation of that entertainment space, a substantial amount of it inside and out, some of which, the roof in particular, will overlook the entire neighborhood and subject the neighborhood to any noise emanating from that space. It also creates privacy issues in quite a radius around the entire property. The proposed plan suggests to me the sort of space that would lend itself to being used as a short-term rental property for parties or social events. Related to the issue of doubling the number of units of potential residents, there's the matter of parking, which I understand has been partially addressed. But the issue here is that we're doubling the number of bedrooms in the home. We're doubling potentially the number of residents. And I can say that the folks that owned the home previously had 2 vehicles. The folks just to the south of them, when they redesigned that property, included a garage and a driveway, and that wasn't sufficient for them. And while this is a very transit-friendly neighborhood, I think it's reasonable to. It is the norm here for folks to also own vehicles. The other piece is the parking in this neighborhood is used by a number of other folks in the area temporarily. Specific to the pieces that may be most germane for this committee, I would argue that the applicant is not seeking minor variances, certainly not in the aggregate. The planned building significantly exceeds the permitted depth by more than 7 meters. Again, that's out of place in this neighborhood. They're also seeking to go nearly 2.5 meters beyond the height limit, which is to accommodate a rooftop deck, something which would be a first in this neighborhood and seems like an extravagance given the proposed 3 balconies, 1 porch, and the rear deck space. Combined with the increase in floor space, this is actually, I would say, a significant variance on the aggregate. The last thing I'll say is that this project, which by all appearances is already underway, is being undertaken at a point in time when the 2 properties most directly affected are vacant or in transition, and I realize that that's not something that is caused by, or that even that this is something that the owner is taking advantage of, but it doesn't change the fact that these new residents, who presumably will be, I think actually in one home they have just moved in, and in the other, I don't know what the timeline is, but the people who are directly adjacent to this home won't have the opportunity for input or recourse in this process. That's the sum of my comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the speaker? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Owens. Mr. Clark, are you there?
Yes,
Hi.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, maybe speak a little bit louder.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good. Can you please address the issues raised by Mr. Owens?
Very good. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Owens. I neglected to mention as well in our discussions with Stephanie Hong at Community Planning, another item we agreed to was the specific use of planters on the rooftop recreation area to surround outside the railing as indicated on the plans, and those are there specifically to enhance the privacy of the neighbors and to address overlook issues. So again, we've agreed to that with Community Planning. We're happy to include it in the plans and the foregoing construction. I can't speak to the final use of the property with respect to short-term rentals or something. That's really at the discretion of any subsequent owner of the property. That's certainly not his intent as it's been articulated to me. He's simply trying to make a family home. Again, with respect to the property depth, the mass of the building as perceived from the street and from the backyard is really that of the ground floor, second and third floor. The depth is within keeping with the as of right 17 meters. The 24 meters represents the below grade construction really in the deck. I would also point out that this is comparable to the property to the south. We actually borrowed the idea from them. They have precisely the same arrangement wherein there's a covered deck which covers a walkout, and we've made it exactly the same depth as the deck to the south, which you can see on the plan on the right hand side of the page. So thank you for offering us that lovely idea. In respect of the parking, I can sympathize. I myself live just 2 blocks away. I'm quite familiar with the issues in the area. Fortunately, it's not actually a matter of variance today in respect to that. And I think with respect to the privacy, again, we're happy to make accommodations to enhance the privacy so that to attenuate any overlook issues from the rear balconies. I think by the time we get to the 2nd story rear balcony, and we can see that again on image A24, by the time you get to that balcony, there we go. In fact, if we were looking towards the properties on Swanwick, they would in fact be obstructed by the garage of the house on the north side of this particular site at 33 Kimberley. So we'd be happy to include a privacy screen on the sides, but I'm not actually sure it would do anything given the setback of the 3rd floor balcony at that stage.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Clark? Joanne?
I have a question. Mr. Clark, are there any other examples you can provide the committee with of rooftop decks as being proposed here?
The nearest that I can recall, I believe, are on Gerrard, about 120 meters away. There's a series of townhome developments right there on both sides of Gerrard, just to the east of Kimberley. And I believe all of those involve rooftop decks.
Are they 3 stories with a rooftop deck or 2 stories with a rooftop deck?
3. The one on the north side of Gerrard I would characterize as 3.5 stories in actual fact. It's a miracle of the building code that they managed to characterize that as 3 stories. So.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Ms. Valentini?
In terms of the height, the front and rear wall heights, in looking at the plans, can you just quickly tell me, does that to the third floor or to the projection at the top for the stair access?
I believe the main wall height, yes, is really related to the stair access, yes.
So then,
But even then, the stair enclosure itself, which is reasonably compact, comes out at the same height or slightly shorter than the adjacent building to the north. We tried to do a stepping down, as you can see there. So there's the tallest building on the left, there's the stair enclosure, then the flat roof, which is lower, and then 29 Kimberley to the south. So we wanted a gentle ramping down, and that's why we located the stair on that side. It happened to correspond to the existing stair location within the house.
so if I look at this correctly or understand this, what house is that? I don't know that. Anyway, if we're looking at this plan or this elevation, your third floor is going to match the third floor of the house according to this elevation to the right? Oh, it's got numbers, 29 Kimberley, is that correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
the floors are all fairly consistent across all three properties in terms of their height, starting above grade and their floor-to-floor heights.
Okay, but the stair enclosure will match the height of 33 Kimberley, according to your elevation here.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Clay?
Chair, I wonder, I know you've mentioned it in a few instances already, but I think what I'm hearing from the opposition mostly is about privacy and overlook. So could you just, for my benefit anyways, and perhaps the people on the line, just recap all the measures that you're planning to do to address overlook and privacy, and I'd add in there, particularly for the rooftop, whether they're doing anything with respect to noise.
Well, let's start with the rooftop. I think it's everyone's principal concern, which is completely reasonable. What we've agreed with community planning is that where we see the guards, the glass guards on the rooftop area, that would be entirely surrounded by shrubs, probably 5 to 6 feet tall. So those would mitigate the privacy issues. It's difficult to look past them out to the area beyond. Similarly, they also have an acoustic attenuation effect within reason. They'll dampen down the noise quite literally. That's really our intent on the rooftop deck. As you can see, the guard is set back a fair way. Let's call it between 4 and 6 feet from the perimeter of the building, all the way around. So the roof deck does not constitute the entire roof by any means, perhaps 55 or 60%. And then again, outside where it says new glass guard, we would expect to see planters with shrubs 2 to 3 feet deep, filling that entire area. Have the benefit of having a slightly green roof as well. We think these will go a long way towards providing overlook privacy. I think where the issue is really strongest when it comes to overlook privacy is in the backyards, which is on the right side of the page in this particular instance. Again, I maintain that as we go down to the third floor, the balcony there will again be at a lower elevation, and in fact, when it comes to looking at the properties on Swanwick, the view of those backyards on Swanwick will be obstructed by a garage that is just slightly off the top right of the page here. Invariably in the beaches, it's fairly fine grain and tight area. We do all live not cheek by jowl, but in fairly close confines. But that having been said, there's many French doors, back balconies throughout the neighborhood that allow for people to use them quietly without really impeding the privacy of their neighbors. I personally haven't experienced any issues with it. Again, I live 2 blocks away.
And can I just confirm the glass guards that you have around all those different balconies and such is opaque, or is it clear?
It's currently proposed that they would be transparent, but we would be open to providing some fritting or something if that would help the privacy issues, so that they maintain some translucency in the transmission of light, while at the same time obscuring people and their activities beyond them.
Okay, any further questions, panel members? Okay. Well, we're ready to go into committee unless there's any other questions you have. No questions? Okay, we'll take it into committee then. Any comments, discussion?
Well, I'll start. I was, when I saw this originally and read through, I was originally concerned mostly, well, not mostly, but one of my concerns was depth. And I think the applicant has addressed that. I thought that there was a concern about, you know, getting into too much depth that would affect the adjacent properties, but I get that that's a grade, so that's helpful. The concern I think most people have is about the rooftop patio or rooftop deck and the overlook with respect to the balconies. I think that what I heard from the applicant, that there were a significant number of measures that they're prepared to do to help mitigate that concern. You know, just looking at the variances, and you know, they are not really significant in their intent. So and there are other properties emerging in that area that are going to start getting to the same kind of built form. So I'm kind of leaning towards supporting this application.
I think it's unfortunate that we didn't have any submissions from planning, given that from the applicant it appears there's been quite a lot of discussion about ways to mitigate some agreement between planning and the applicant about mitigating some of the potential impacts of the third floor balcony, but that's some of my major concern. I too was concerned with respect to the depth, but when reviewing it and seeing that the depth is applicable only to the below ground extension of the walkout and patio, that lessens my concerns, and that the depth of the structure itself appears to be similar to the neighbors. The height variance is related to the stairway to access the upstairs, so it wouldn't be the full length, and it is comparable to the to number 33. I think if we were able to tie any approval to plans to ensure that the depth is only related to the below ground portion, and that there's some mitigating conditions with respect to plantings on the rooftop terrace, and also making the glass opaque or not transparent on the overlooking rear balconies. I believe I could support this application.
I agree with all the comments that have been made, particularly with Ms. Hayes' suggestions in terms of conditions to mitigate the impact of the balconies and the deck.
Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, just a quick question. If we tie it to plans, is that sufficient with respect to the depth? Because the applicant thought that he was expecting a condition from planning that depth is only related to the deck or the patio portion at the back. Is it enough for us to tie it to plans, or do we need a condition?
Well, the condition would be to tie it to certain plans, and you can then also speak to that the depth is only to the below-grade portion, or applicable only to the below-grade portion of whatever the request was.
I don't know, I can ask the applicant just to be sure we don't.
Yep,
get him.
confirm
So
that
let me
that's-
just go out of committee just to confirm, because if we want to really tighten it up for the depth. Mr. Clark, are you there?
Yes,
I just want to get the wording right if we put a condition on the one that you were expecting with respect to depth.
Can we clarify that it relates to the basement? If we say below grade, it will not work if we're held to the letter of the law as to the definition of grade, meaning the top surface of the land.
Okay, so if you give us what the proper wording should be, then that you were expecting from planning with,
The minor variance for the allowable depth of the building shall be only applicable to the basement level.
okay.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah, that's great, thanks. And then, yeah, the opaque glass and the planters would be another one that we would put in.
May I suggest translucent glass?
Translucent glass, okay,
Yes, so we can allow for light transmission, but not imagery per se.
okay.
And that's just for the roof?
So would that, no, I think that panel members were looking on, for all of the railings, sort of for every level. So we would be talking about the rooftop and then, sorry, I don't
That
have
would be
it.
agreeable for all glass guards.
For all glass guards, okay,
It would be consistent from a design perspective.
okay. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll go back into committee then. Okay. Are you ready to move a motion, one of you, or? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I can try.
Yeah.
So I would move for approval of the applications for the reasons that we have previously stated, with the condition that the depth variance only be applicable to the basement level of the proposed dwelling, that all glass panels on platforms or balconies be translucent glass, and that there be vegetative screening planted around the perimeter of the rooftop terrace.
Okay, did you want to add minimum of 5 feet?
Yes, to a minimum of 5 feet.
Okay. Okay, so that's the motion then with those 3 conditions. That's moved by Ms. Hayes. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Valentini? Okay, all in favor? Okay, that application has been unanimously approved with those 3 conditions. The committee now stands adjourned until 2 o'clock, at which time we will be starting with item number 19, which is 35 Tiago. I'll see you all
Chair.
later. Yes?
Chair, just before we, I know we're not officially, but I'm wondering if we can get some clarity. This is the first time I've heard the term translucent glass. We have used opaque pretty consistently as committees all the way through. Is there, maybe staff could just give a little bit of advice, is there a difference? Is it the same product? Should we be using one term consistently relative to another, or is it basically the same thing?
I'm just Googling.
Through you, Madam Chair, my understanding of translucent is still lets light in, and you could still see somewhat through the glass, whereas if you were to put solid wood fencing, it doesn't allow for any visibility through the guard railing or any type of railing. So translucent allows still a little bit of light and some like shadowing or some opportunity for some visibility, but when you say opaque, it's solid.
Yeah, that's what Google says too. So there you go. We have a very smart deputy secretary
Well,
treasurer.
that's helpful, because in the past, I've thought of opaque as being a treatment on
Yeah,
glass.
I
That's
always,
sort of, so should we be, if it's glass, should we consistently then be using translucent, I guess?
well, it'd be nicer for people to be sitting on their deck with light coming through, kind of,
But then it still allows for that visibility.
yeah. I guess it depends on the situation, maybe. I don't
So is translucent like frosted? Because I mean, I think even with,
Yeah, it says,
like, 'cause-
it says here, materials like frosted glass and some plastics are called translucent, and when it strikes the material, only some light passes through, whereas opaque blocks the light.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Okay, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, wow, okay.
You know what, the first time ever today, the Google's not, or like, I'm using Google Maps, first time ever it's not kicking me out of the internet